Are these world-famous landmarks worth the hype, or just overrated tourist traps? Let's dive in.
First up is the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. It's one of the most iconic symbols in all the world, and it is considered overrated. You can basically view the Eiffel Tower from everywhere, and Dave and I took at least a half a dozen trips to Paris before we finally went up the Eiffel Tower.
Now, if you are there visiting, you can take an elevator or you can climb the stairs to the observation deck for these beautiful views over Paris. And at the top, if you're so inclined, you can have a glass of overpriced champagne on the Eiffel Tower, which of course we did because we are sort of suckers for those gimmicks.
So why is the Eiffel Tower overrated, Dave?
Well, a few reasons. It's often overcrowded with long lines and wait times, especially during the peak tourist season. However, you can purchase skip the line tickets if you like, which we put a link to down below if you want to go and do that.
But the other reason is because the view from the top, it's not really the most beautiful view in all of Paris. And I don't think that the hassle is worth justifying going to the top. And I actually think seeing the Eiffel Tower is better than viewing out from it. If you go to Sacré-Cœur and sit on the steps or go to Montparnasse, that is where some beautiful views of the city are.
And it's really crammed with like vendors and people selling stuff and pickpockets, so you really have to be aware all around you while you're there, which kind of takes away from the experience.
So what is our verdict of whether you should go up the Eiffel Tower or not? What do you say, Dave?
Well, I think if you're a first-time visitor, yes, go up and do it. If you're a return visitor, you can skip it because you can get way better views of the Eiffel Tower at different places from around the city.
Yeah, I say not going up the Eiffel Tower is like visiting Egypt and not seeing the pyramids. Go early in the morning or go late at night so you can see the lights sparkling at night, and you can avoid the crowds of the tour buses that happen between like 10 and 5 p.m.
Next on our list is Temple Bar in Dublin, Ireland. Now, Temple Bar is what I would consider to be Dublin's most famous pub district. It's one of the oldest areas in Dublin, but today it's also the party capital of the city, full of tourists drinking a ton of Guinness, including myself.
Me too.
It's a pedestrian-only street, which is great to go for a pub crawl. It allows you to take advantage of probably what I would consider one of the most touristy places in the city of Dublin.
So why is it overrated besides being touristy? Well, it is overcrowded indeed. You're going to walk through crowds, and it's not going to feel authentic pub experience that you want when you're in the country of Ireland.
No, when you go outside of Temple Bar to some more authentic pubs, you're going to get a much better experience, much more local experience. Even when you go into Temple Bar itself, you know, you walk in, it's super crowded. There are people playing, you know, great Irish music and drinking Guinness, which is great, but you really feel like oversaturated tourist area. So what do we think? Is it worth it to go and visit it?
Definitely. Of course. If you have never been to Dublin before, the first place you have to go is Temple Bar. It will give you a great introduction to Ireland and make you understand a little bit of the pub culture. The street is just one big photogenic experience. It's colorful, there's crowds everywhere, there's people playing music. It's so much fun to be in. It will get you ready for your Dublin experience. One thing to be careful of as well, why this is overrated, is because there are a lot of pickpockets and scammers here. Because it's so dense and it is a tourist population, of course you are going to be a target for pickpockets.
Next up on the list is Niagara Falls in Ontario, Canada, our own backyard. Niagara Falls is a group of 3 waterfalls that are located between Ontario, Canada, and New York State in the US. In our opinion, the Canadian side offers the best views and a good range of tourist activities, from boat tours to observation decks. For us, we've visited Niagara Falls a lot of times, and we have plenty of videos for you to dig deeper into things to do, where to stay, and Niagara Falls itineraries, so make sure you check those out.
So why is it overrated though? We've been a lot, but a lot of people can't stand it. Well, that is because a lot of people think it is overly commercialized. It is a big natural wonder of the world that is just dominating the landscape, but it is surrounded by casinos and kitschy tourist shops, wax museums, and hotels. A lot of people are looking for something more rugged, and they expect it to be more like Iguazu Falls or Victoria Falls. They feel that Niagara Falls should be more out in the open nature.
Crowds are pretty crazy, especially during high season, and you can feel like you're getting sort of shuffled around like cattle, you know, and being pushed here and pushed there in this overpriced food, overpriced accommodation. Now, it sounds like there's a lot of reasons not to visit Niagara Falls, but there's also a lot of good reasons to visit Niagara Falls.
Yeah, just seeing these falls, it is amazing. The sheer power of the world's biggest and largest volume of water going over the falls is spectacular to see, and we love going to see it. There are so many amazing things to see, like going under the falls when you're at Horseshoe Falls. You can go stand right beside the falls. You can go over the falls. You can zip line across the falls. There's so many things to do and different ways to see it.
So what do you think? Do you think it's worth going to visit to see Niagara Falls?
I think it is very worth going to see Niagara Falls, but I think that it can be very expensive and it can be very crowded. So you want to make sure that you plan your trip well if you do go. You want to first get something called the Adventure Pass that gives you passes to all of the major attractions, and that makes it very affordable. You want to visit on off-season or in shoulder season. Spring and fall is better, and we have even been in the winter, and it is beautiful in the winter as well.
And it is one of those places you have to see. It's an iconic waterfall in the world, and sure, it can be a little crowded, and sure, it can be a little expensive, but like most attractions that are huge like that and really a natural wonder, it's worth it to visit at least once in your life.
You know what? I just say take it for what it is. Dave and I have visited pretty much every big and major waterfall in the entire world, and I'm going to say Niagara Falls is our favorite because we embrace the kitsch. We go to the wax museums. We love doing the rides and taking advantage of all the touristy stuff. And I think that's what you have to do when you go to Niagara Falls. Make it feel like Vegas and have a great time and recognize that you are looking at one of the natural wonders of the world. All right, let's talk about Pena Palace in Sintra, Portugal. This is a very beautiful castle that is located on a hilltop just about 30 minutes outside of the capital city of Lisbon. Dave and I got in a lot of trouble for this one because we made a lot of mistakes and didn't enjoy our time at Pena Palace. Visitors can explore the ornate rooms and stroll through its expansive gardens and see this colorful castle from all different viewpoints. But why is it overrated?
Well, for many reasons, often packed with a ton of tourists, leading to these crazy long lines and a really crowded experience in those narrow corridors when you're sort of being pushed through. I think that takes away from it. The colors itself look a lot better on photos and in video than they do actually in person. And I think that the experience of being there with so many people around you and having to be timed entry and all this kind of stuff really takes away from the experience of what it would have been like to visit Pena Palace back in the day.
Yeah, even getting there is difficult. It's expensive. It costs us 40 euros to take a tuk-tuk up for like a 15-minute drive. Otherwise, you have to walk or take a very crowded tourism bus that'll take you up. It's just a really crowded experience. And to give you an idea, they allow 400 people per half hour into the palace, and you have to have your timed entry, and then you just follow people along. So it can be a very unfulfilling experience if done improperly like we did. However, is it worth visiting Pena Palace, in our opinion?
I think it is for a couple reasons. Number one, the views over Sintra are just unmatched. So just walking around the walls, you don't actually have to go inside the palace, the internal part of the palace. You can walk around the palace walls and get a really good feel of what it would have been like to have lived there and looked over the beautiful scenes of Sintra.
It really is a beautiful palace, unlike anything I've ever seen. It is like a fairy tale when you see it and you go, oh my goodness, this is historical. It's not built from today. It's a historical place that was actually planned with all of these colorful facades. It is gorgeous. Now, if you do it right, and go first thing in the morning or hike up to Pena Palace or visit in the shoulder season, you will love it. So just make sure not to visit during the middle of the day like we did, and try and go in maybe November, December, and then you can really take in the spectacular views of this once-in-a-lifetime experience. All right, let's talk about Times Square in New York City. Let me tell you, you ask any New Yorker if you should visit Times Square and they will say, no way. But Times Square is an iconic place to visit, and it's located right in Midtown Manhattan, and it's one of the most famous squares on earth. It's a gathering spot surrounded by all these dazzling billboards and neon lights and skyscrapers, and it's in the heart of New York's entertainment district. So why on earth is it overrated? Tell us, Dave.
Let me tell you, there's a lot of different reasons. It's constantly crowded. It doesn't matter if you're there at 10 in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. Tourists are always walking around and really crowding the area. Don't even bother driving down there because traffic is loud and crazy. And, it just seems really stressful when you're down there. You gotta watch out for pickpockets. So you're always constantly guarding your belongings when you're down there. You feel like, oh, someone's gonna get me.
Yeah, it can be really overwhelming to the senses. You have this barrage of advertisements around you, and you just feel like you're constantly being sold something. And you have these very aggressive street performers and people in costumes that are trying to get up, and they won't take no for an answer. And it really doesn't give you any kind of feeling of what real New York is all about. It just feels very commercialized.
Yeah, and not to mention, the cost of things there is way inflated. So no matter where you go to eat or if you want to buy a souvenir or anything like that, you're going to pay double than anywhere else in New York City. So is it worth it to visit Times Square?
Oh, yes, indeed. I love visiting Times Square. I have been to New York at least a dozen times, and every time I go, we stay around Times Square. We love going into Times Square. We love the energy. We love the vibe, and I love the billboards. I just love looking at to see what Broadway show is hot right now, what chewing gum should I be eating right now, all of that stuff. I just love it.
Yeah, I do love it too. I say you need to take it as it is. Just be ready and plan for, being overwhelmed.
And I don't even mind the aggressive street performers. They come up to me, I say no, we laugh, and off I go. The one thing about it is it's so busy that you never feel like you're really in danger or trouble. If you love crowds and you love the vibe of a city, go to Times Square and it will get you ready for your New York trip that will put you in a New York state of mind.
All right, and that will do it for our second installment of the world's most overrated tourist attraction. So let us know what your experience was like at the Eiffel Tower or Temple Bar or Pena Palace or any of the other ones that we mentioned in this video, because we want to hear what you think. Do you think they're overrated, or did you love them like we did?
So hit that button, like, subscribe, and click on the bell so that you get notifications in your inbox.
Thanks for watching. Ciao for now.
Bye, everyone.